Hey guys, I've got a 2012 Honda Odyssey. It's got the variable cylinder management. Of course, it goes into eco mode. This one has 168,000 miles, and I realized that it was very bad off as far as the carbon buildup in it, but I was able to do a quick fix to it, a much simpler fix, and that's what I'm here to tell you about today. You can see some of the products I use there. But here's how I went about it. Like I say, I caught it way too late. I was 5 months past the warranty where they would repair it, so I was in a pickle. What was I going to do? I was even considering just swapping out the engine. Would be easier than taking it all apart, you know, using a junkyard engine. But my brother-in-law made a suggestion to me to try soaking it in some things, so I tried that, and it turned out it worked. So I'm just going to tell you what I used and how I did that. Here's what I started off with, was the Seafoam Deep Creep, and this is what I started off when it was warm. Of course, it's the back 3 cylinders here that will clog up on you, that build up the carbon and burn the oil and so on. So of course I removed the cover, pulled the plugs while the engine was still warm, and I sprayed it full and simply let it soak. And after about a day, I cranked it just a little bit just to work that around in there, and then shut it off again, and just, of course, I never did start it. The plugs were out of it. But just let it soak in there, and then cranked it a little bit, and then moved on to the next product. And actually, this was another one I tried at the same time. I didn't get much of this one in here, so I wouldn't consider that one too much. But it was another one I tried, just a PB blaster. It's for removing carbon. But the Seafoam I use quite a bit of. It's the Seafoam Deep Creep, just to show you that one more time. And I did that one while it was warm. Everything else I did while it was cold. After that, I moved on to brake cleaner. And I used pretty much this whole big giant can. And it was pretty tough, because some of these cans, you can't spray at an angle upside down. You've got to spray, you've got to reach it in there like that. So sometimes I had to use a funnel, sometimes I had to use a mirror and really snake the can down in there and hold it just right, and just make sure with that mirror and a headlamp that I was hitting the hole going down in the spark plug. But I used pretty much that whole can. I did about half a can one day, put the plugs in it because I knew that one would evaporate out, and then I did another half a can the next day and left the plugs out that time so it could evaporate. And then I said I wasn't going to crank it on that one because I knew that would wash the oil off the cylinders, but I ended up just cranking it just a little bit anyway, and turned out okay. Well, after that, this is actually what my brother-in-law suggested, the cryo oil. And you can get that at Napa's, where I got that one. It was $20 for a can. I didn't end up using the whole can, but still used quite a bit of it. Same thing, you got to hold it level, got to snake it back in there. Expensive stuff, you don't want to waste it. But I got that in there. I let that soak for several days, just because it was kind of pricey, and got that one in there. Ended up not cranking it with the starter, but I ended up going up underneath and turning the main bolt on the crank down there and just kind of working it around a little bit, and that seemed to work pretty good, kept it from shooting it everywhere. Finally, last thing I used was automatic transmission fluid, just good old ATF, and that don't seem like it would do much, but reading online, people that's got seized up engines, people that's got rusted rings for a car that's been sitting a long time, that's what they used, and it worked very good for them. So I went with that too for a few days, and that one, even if it soaks down in your oil, it don't matter. All the others do matter if they soak into your oil. So needless to say, after this, I changed the oil. I actually took like a turkey baster and tried to suck some of what was left in there out, because you don't want to have any liquid left with your plug still in there. So I did that. Tried to get best what I could out. I cranked it for a good while with the plugs out so it would shoot some of what was left in there out. And I realized after I did that, there was lots of carbon all over everything, so that's a very good sign. But like I say, I was burning oil bad. My oil level was going all the way off the dipstick between oil changes. Even halfway through your oil change, you'd have to add a couple quarts. So, you know, after I got all that, put my plugs back in, I started it. Of course, it smoked and kind of sputtered for a while, and I drove it around and it smoked for a long time. But I've seen how it's done since then. Actually, part of that too is I did the VCM muzzler. Got it right there, got the blue resistor in. I think it's around 80 ohms. It's worked very well. So did that, so it's firing on all 6 cylinders all the time now. And I've got a little over 1,000 miles on it, and before you could definitely see the oil level going down. Now the oil level is staying exactly where it's at. I had it just a hair above the fill line, and that's where it's staying at. So I really feel like it's fixed it, and it's running very good, and way easier than pulling the engine apart, cleaning the rings. Way easier than an engine swap, the other thing I was considering. So I'm very happy with that. So you might want to try these products. Which ones work the best? I don't really know. If I had to pick, I would say the Cryoil, the ATF, and maybe this Seafoam was probably the 3 that were probably most effective. But that's all the ones I used right there. Maybe they'll work for you too if you try them out. Thanks.